You know, I said in the last episode of the Ninjala anime that I thought the last episode was a little bit lacking, but obviously them going out of the academy would bring a fresh spin to the Ninjala story and the overall ideals and the overall plot of what's going on in the Ninjala anime. And I'm glad to see that for this episode, I was absolutely right, and you could tell that the animators had an absolutely lovely ride doing this animated episode as well. This was a very, very enjoyable and fun one to watch. So obviously today, we're going to be talking about Ninjala, the Ninjala anime, episode 11, which is just titled, Mission Survive. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and all the core gamers out there, CAJ Man 777 here, and welcome back to the Ninjala anime discussion. As I already said, we're going to be talking about Ninjala anime episode 11, which is just called Mission Survival. So we're going to get into it, and we're going to break down the discussion. We're going to talk about all the cool things that happened in this episode. We're going to say hi to this cat that's sitting down here. Hi. She wants to say hi to all of you as well. She's a good boy. Look at her big face. Look at her face. She might sit on here. But, of course, if you guys are enjoying these episodes of the Ninjala anime discussion and this pretty kitty, do me a favor and hit that like button as well as hitting that subscribe button, as we're going to get to talking straight into the Ninjala anime episode 11, because this episode was great. This episode was great, and it's, again, it was a fresh spin on things we had never, ever seen before. So, first thing you need to know is that the main 8 characters have been split up into 2 different teams. We have Team Coyote, which is marked by blue pins on their little ninja gis. And that team, Team Coyote, consists of Jane, Lucy, Cappe, and Van, where the other team, who is being dropped off to another location by Amy, is consisting of Emma, Ron, Burton, and Berecca. And we will follow both of these teams throughout the entirety of the episode. They used a 3D model for the helicopter. That's actually kind of neat. And there they go. That is a 3D model. Your mission! Survive! Survive!
チームコヨーテのミッションを確認する。初めての屋外訓練だ。みんな心してことに当たれ。
チームコヨーテ？
サバイバルミッション伝統のチーム名だ。君たちはこれよりスタート地点に降下。そこから自力でアカデミーを目指す。
自力でって。
忍者ガムは？
ガムはなしだ。
Now, Bruce is taking Team Coyote to a specific location, while Amy is taking the other team to another location. And basically what they have to do is they're probably about a day and a half or 2 days out from the actual WNA Academy. Now, what this means is that they are going to have to at least camp out one night and survive for the day, which is part of their ninja training, obviously, to become, you know, full-fledged ninjas for the betterment of the world through the actions that they're working for the WNA. Remember, that's the WNA's true purpose. So, we see Van, Cappe, Jane, and Lucy kind of get dropped off first in a desert. And the first thing you're going to understand in this episode is that because Van and Cappe are together, you're going to get this rivalry between them again. And because Jane's with them, Jane is going to act like the mom, where Lucy is like the fourth crazy wheel and is just not impressed with anything that Van and Cappe does. In fact, she's really annoyed by them for like the entirety of this episode. There are some really funny moments though, and there is a great Lucy moment later in the episode that we will talk about. So they get dropped off on the top of a desert plateau, essentially, and the first thing they have to do is climb down. Obviously, Van and Cappe get into a little bit of a scuffle at the beginning, so they're like, the academy's this way, and so Jane goes, all right, play nice, Van and Cappe, pretty much. And Jane just goes, if you don't play nice, you're basically both going to end up hurt. And obviously Van and Cappe, obviously as Jane acting as a motherly figure, goes, hey, you sure know your stuff. Now, obviously they don't know Jane is an actual adult. And for those who did correct me in the last episode, I appreciate that. Canonical ages of Van and Cappe are like 12 and 13. So there is, like, they have the kid mindset, but there's also, like, that starting the teenage mindset kind of, like, attitude that they all have as well. With no ninja gum, this is just outright training.
アカデミーはあっちの方か。めちゃくちゃ遠いじゃん。おいらワクワクすっけどな。途中でヘタばっても知らないぞ。そっちこそ。こらこら喧嘩すんの。へい。大自然を舐めてると怪我するよ。さすが姉さん。本当にオイラたちと同い年か。
Are you sure we're even the same age? The age is not.
少し
Oh, Jane's both calling him immature. Oh, look at Lucy
何やっ
though.
てんの？
降りるのよ。あたいはこんなとこさっさと抜け出したいだけ。
So obviously they have to get off this desert plateau, and Lucy, kind of ignoring the conversation they were having, was already putting in a stake into the top of this plateau so she could rappel down the hill. Lucy just doesn't want to be with them. Lucy just goes, I want to get out of here. I want to get home. Pretty much. So Lucy kind of going off on her own. What they also tell us at the beginning of this episode, though, is that the losing team has a little bit of a punishment, quote unquote, for the team who gets back to the academy last. So there's kind of added incentive. So Lucy kind of already pushing the group forward and doing what she needs to do. So they all climb down the cliff. Very simply, Cappe free climbs down, which is kind of badass, actually. Free climbing is a very scary thing for those of you who have done it. Van uses some ninja claws and, unfortunately, ends up sliding down the cliff onto Cappe's head. And they get into a little bit of a scuffle, but eventually they do get down to the cliff safely. Already on top of things!
お先に。待てよカッペ。忍法岩下り。調子に乗ってるとやらかすよ。平気平気。何すんだよ。しょうがないだろ。もう。
大変ね、ママ。
せめて姉さんと言って。
Then we cut over to Burton, Berecca, Ron, and Emma, and they are somehow have been dropped off in a jungle. So you're telling me that a day and a half or 2 days away from the WNA Academy, that way is a jungle, and that way is a desert. Alright, I'll buy it. I'll buy it just for this episode because the storytelling for this works really well. And Burton is already uneasy about this. He doesn't like being out in an area kind of like this. Enemies, he says, can basically come from any direction. But what I really find funny about this is that Berecca ends up quoting Burton in a callback, and it's such a smug callback, too, to when they were on the roof in the second episode of the anime, where Burton goes, the fresh air, it just makes you feel fully alive. So Berecca says, don't you find being out in the wilderness makes you feel truly alive? And the look on her face the entire time she's saying it is so funny, and I love the callback.
危険が予測できない。
そうこうして自然に囲まれてると生きてるって気がしない
But in this same scene, we also learned something very interesting, and it's that Burton is afraid of reptiles.
いるし
へえ。
Burton's afraid of lizards. Or Burton's afraid of reptiles, I should say. His reaction is absolutely priceless for this, and I didn't expect them to do it how they did it. But of course, Ron then comes up to them and goes, hey, we should pick a leader for this group. And Berecca offers, hey, I want Burton as the leader. Emma goes, I'll go along with it. And Ron goes, okay, that's fine by me. Your call, leader. And the reason Berecca did this is because, remember, they're still suspicious of Ron. They think Ron is still out to end up, kill him. So they made Burton as the leader so Burton could have his sense of, direction. Hold on. My cat is going crazy. You want to stay up here? So obviously, Ron, Burton, Berecca, and Emma, they start making their way through the jungle. And Ron is cutting things out with a machete. And we get this really dark scene, where Ron approaches them with the machete. And he's like, it's that foreboding scene with the darkness and he's holding the machete in a funny way. And that's how that scene ends. They think, Ron's gonna be out to get him. They think Ron's gonna be out to get him. And I don't know. I think it was a really funny scene because Some of the things they end up doing later with Ron and Burton, awesome, and that's all I'm gonna say.
だったら私はバートンに1票。
僕
バートン？ちょっと頼りないけど、危険を察知して対処する能力はすごいもん。それ逃げ足だけは速いってこと？
引っかかる
The call out.
ごめん。ミーもバートンでいいよ。
決まりだな、リーダー。
Ron with the machete.
なんで僕をリーダーなんかに押したんだよ。
ロンがリーダーでいいの？それじゃあいつの思うツボじゃない。
アカデミーを離れた今、人目のないところで僕たちを狙うってこと？
そう思わない理由ある？
Again, they don't know much. They still don't know much. Of course they would.
指示を出してくれ、リーダー。
We cut back over to Team Coyote. We cut back over to the other group, and they find a desert oasis. They end up finding a desert oasis, and using this, obviously, to check if the water is poisonous or not. They have been provided a little bit of survival stuff with a little thing that they call the Ninja Straw. Now, if you guys don't know what this is an actual thing. It's not actually called the Ninja Straw, but there is an actual straw, and it has a filter in it that basically turns water that might be dangerous to you to actual drinkable water. Now, this is a desert oasis, so this isn't the case for them. But remember, there are actual tools out there that are based on that, which is really cool. It's a really nice survival tool as well. If, like, say, if you were ever stranded, that is something you would definitely want with you, because having a drinkable water source, especially if you get dropped off in a desert, is absolutely massive, and that's what that straw conversion, the straw thing is for. So obviously they all get a drink of water, and then they realize there's a little splash in the water. Van and Cappe both look up and they go, wait, there's fish in this water. And Jane and Lucy walk up to them, and the next thing we see is Van and Cappe just fishing. They're just fishing.
あれ？
They're fishing.
何してるの？忍者釣り竿で魚釣り。釣れないな。釣れたら負けだ。じいちゃんが言ってた。釣りの極意は明鏡止水。メイクイン。鏡のごとく波一つ立たない水面のように。
I like this episode a lot more just because it's so creative.
忍術の極意っぽいわね。
And eventually, they do end up catching a bigger fish, but before that, because they're kind of impatient with fishing, we get this really funny thing where Cappe quotes his grandpa, and when he's quoting his grandpa, the voice actor changes Cappe's, accent, and it actually sounds so good. I really like what they did with all the voice acting in this episode. I think the voice acting in this episode was actually top-notch for the Ninjala anime. And basically, the quote from Cappe's grandfather was basically about patience. Well, obviously, Van and Cappe aren't very patient, and they can't even wait for a good, 30 seconds. There's good silence for 3 seconds, and then they lose their minds, and Lucy goes, all right, well, you have fun then. Of course, both of them end up catching a fish, and Van catches the biggest fish. And so as Lucy walks away, guess where this big fish lands that Van caught? On Lucy's head. And the reaction from Lucy is absolutely priceless.
ずっとやってな。
魚出てこいやー。1分も持たなかったね。うわこれはでかいぞ。
Lucy slowly losing her mind being around Van and Cappe right now. So we cut back then to Ron's group, and they've reached a little bit of an impasse. They have a cliff to climb that's the only way up, and they don't have a choice but to climb it. So Ron, obviously being the trained ninja that he already is the first one to offer, hey, I'm going to go up and scout ahead to make sure there's nobody here to end up taking us out. Because Ron basically says if they got attacked here, it would be very bad, so I'd rather have one scout go out than have none. So again, Ron's training with the Oniwabanshu and his real ninja training coming really into fruition. He's kind of teaching Emma a nice lesson.
先に行って様子を見る。 一斉に登るのは危険すぎるからな。
どうして？
こんなところを襲われたら全滅だ。
え？でもこれトレーニングでしょ？
忍者なら常に危険を意識しろ。
Ron dropping the life lessons.
頼れるし、大人って感じ。
僕は
どう見ても年下系？
ベレッカ、ここは喜ぶとこ？
全然。
Oh, obviously, Ron ends up putting up a rope and they start climbing the rope. Now, obviously, Burton and Berecca are afraid that Ron at the top of this is going to cut the rope. So as, Burton, takes a look down going, oh god, if Ron cuts the rope, this isn't going to be a good thing at all. Shh. She's talking like crazy. So obviously, if the rope gets cut by Ron, it's not going to be a great thing. Now, Emma's already at the top. And as much as Ron wants to cut the rope, he's reaching out to help Burton out, but unfortunately, the rope still gets cut.
もしロープを切られたら。
Now, we don't see what it gets cut by. However, Berecca's quick thinking does save Burton from literally falling to his death by wrapping his legs in a couple vines. So very smart thinking from Berecca. Very good survival instinct. But man, that would probably break your leg, all things considered. But a great save by Berecca. And obviously, that brings up the suspicion that Ron maybe cut the rope, because Berecca finds the rope, and it is straight through cut. It is not a tear in the rope. It is a straight on cut, and the way it's drawn makes it imply it's a straight on cut. And then you get the shot of Burton looking concerned, and then the shot of Ron where you think maybe he did cut the rope and you didn't see it, but we're not gonna get that until later. Berecca thinking quick though.
終わったかと思った。
これは。
Then we cut over to, again, the other group kind of at night. So the whole day is basically passed at this point between both. Ron stays spread out from the others because he thinks if they're close and they get attacked, it's way safer to stay spread out. Again, Ron is kind of suspicious, and even Burton looks over at him and goes, you never know who's going to attack us, right? And Ron goes, yes, exactly. But he's super nonchalant about that. But Ben Berecca asks in the most, serious tone, wouldn't do much if the attacker is one of us, huh? Still thinking that Ron is the one to cut the rope. And this is a very interesting thing because Emma thinks now someone's part of that. But Berecca is quick to assure Ron that, hey, someone that did indeed cut that rope with the blade. Move over to Ron, and now we get to see the perspective of Ron of what actually happened. And it was a ninja star that ended up cutting the rope.
ねえ、ロンもこっちに来れば？
分散していた方が安全だ。
誰に襲われるかわからないってこと？
そういうことだ。
でも襲ってくるのが仲間だったらどうにもならないわね。
ベレッカ、よせ。
ロープは刃物で切られていたわ。
俺を狙ったのか、それとも。
So the question is, where the heck did this ninja star come from? Well, the Oniwabanshu, of course, and Ron questioning himself in deep in his thoughts that obviously Burton and Berecca are unbeknownst to, but Ron has a feeling that the Oniwabanshu, are they after me or are they after Burton and Berecca? And we do get some more intel on that scene later. We get this really wholesome conversation between Burton and Berecca, and they're talking about, hey, Burton's talking about missing his experimenting days, but Berecca says, hey, I don't really miss the excitement, because Berecca's enjoying the relaxing time, and even Burton agrees that, hey, it's more peaceful now that we're kids, and we're kind of blending in a little bit, and it's more peaceful than when it was, because when they turned into kids and when they were making the ninja gum, everything was just so hectic. But then we get some really deep lore. We get some super good deep lore. in this scene, and it's about Berecca's father. This is such a good scene that we learn so much about.
私は今の方が刺激があっていいな。
本気？
ちょっとだけ。
でもあの頃だって全然平和じゃなかったんだよな。気がついてなかっただけで。ショーン博士、君のパパは調査活動中の事故で亡くなったって言われてるけど、もしかして同僚の人と一緒だったよね。
レナードさんって言ったわね。
その人に話を聞
And
きたいな。
Leonard's part of story mode chapter 2, which we know,
亡くなったって聞いたわ。入院していたんだけど、ほどなく。
which we know,
そう。
ただの事故じゃ
he's
ないっ
like
ていうの。
part of the Shadow Ninja organization,
さあね。今とな
which
っては
might be
何が
related
真
to
相でも驚
Oniwabanshu
か
in
ない
some
よ。
way. But what's really cool is they mentioned Berecca's partner, whose name is Leonard. Now, if you guys know anything about the Ninjala game, in story mode chapter 2, Leonard is the dude you trail in the first episode, or in the first part of story mode chapter 2, which stars Berecca looking into the thing of her father and why Leonard might be out here in, I think it was the city of Odeo, technically, but it takes place on the Shinobi City stage in this case. Now, it turns out, obviously, Leonard, disappears, and that's when you get the Shadow Ninja kind of fighting Berecca for the rest of the story mode chapter, along with the Space Ninja mix, if you guys haven't played story mode chapter 2. And that's really cool, because I'm going to say it right now, we do indeed see the Space Ninja in this episode a little bit later, and that I love it. I actually love it, because now we're starting to get into the stuff of, like, the actual Ninjala game. The Space Ninja have made their first appearance. You've got the mention of Leonard, who we know, technically from story mode chapter 2, is probably associated with the Shadow Ninja, which I took as an allegory for the Oniwabanshu. Yeah, I just think this was a really well-needed scene here. And the big thing is, like, even Burton says, hey, I want to talk to Leonard to hear about what happened. But obviously we know from story mode chapter 2 that we don't get the full story. Obviously, supposedly with Berecca losing her father's life in a research accident, he was hospitalized apparently, but he didn't last. They do mention that. So maybe it was, but maybe it was a very different case. So Berecca's thinking, wait, if he was hospitalized and it didn't last, do you think it was not an accident? And Burton goes, I'm not even sure. But nothing surprises him, and he glances over and it cuts to Ron. So a really cool thing. We cut it back over to Jane and Lucy's group for the next part. And obviously they're still telling ghost stories. Nothing really crazy here, but I really like the fact that they took time to really do Lucy's story, because man, Lucy and the voice actor for Lucy, or voice actress I should say for Lucy, goes absolutely in on this. And again, the animation is fire. You can tell the animators had a lot of fun with this episode. I love it. The extreme expressions, the extreme in-betweens. This was like the funniest scene for me, but obviously adding to Lucy's craziness factor.
湖のほとりのキャンプサイト。そこに泊まったキャンパーは
Oh my god, look at her face, dude!
と言われていた。そしてその夏も犠牲者たちが。
Even Jane's shocked by this.
ただの都市伝説だろ。そう言ってたやつが最初に消えた。するとそいつがチェーンソーを
They had too much fun with this.
人呼んで人食いキャンプサイト。お前の後ろに誰かいる。そんなに怖かった？違う。後ろ？何？まさかそんな原始的な手であたいを怖がらせる気じゃないよね。
Oh my god, I knew we were gonna see him! But it's not only that we're getting our glance at the Space Ninja that we see behind them, where all of them kind of, Jane, Van, and Cappy, they think, oh, Lucy's story was crazy, but they say that, hey, Lucy, there's something behind you, and when Lucy turns around, there's nobody there, but we see a bunch of Space Ninja hiding behind the rocks. Uh-oh, the Space Ninja are here, and we know we're going to see them in the next episode from the next episode preview, so it's really cool. It was super, super cool to actually see the Space Ninja finally in the anime. I wonder what they're going to do with them. Besides that, because we know in story mode chapter 1, Van goes out to kind of deal with them in Eagle City as the Space Ninja were like kidnapping kids. So I wonder if they'll do that in the anime. But then we cut over to Gumchi, who seems aware that the Space Ninja are around, and he gets really excited and starts dancing around. So somehow Gumchi has to be related to the Space Ninja in some way, and that's what a lot of us thought anyway in the community. And that's a really neat detail, and I like what they did with that. But then we get a scene. We get a cutting through the door. We get a flashback. We get another flashback of Burton's past, and this is the first time in a while we have seen a scene with Hattori Hanzo, which is Burton's descendant, the original ninja descendant. Burton is seeing nightmares of this, so as we established a while ago, and it's a really cool scene with Hanzo, and Burton suddenly wakes up. He's shocked. He's like, oh god, what happened with the scene, the fight, and you don't know. It cuts back to Burton suddenly waking up. He's in a nervous sweat. He is just wondering what the heck is going on. This is, oh man, we're getting more of this has got to be Burton dreaming again.
来たな、半蔵。
Two different stories here.
服部半蔵、またご先祖様の夢か。
And he's thinking about another dream of a Hanzo, huh? And that's kind of a cool thing because it's part of his heritage, it's part of what he does, and that's honestly what startles Burton, because it seems like at the end of that scene, Hanzo was going for like an assassination. Because Burton wakes up, it's actually a fantastic thing, because when he looks over to all the hammocks, Ron's hammock is empty. So we cut over to Ron, and of course he is having a midnight workout routine. So Burton goes looking for Ron, and this scene right here is my favorite scene in the episode. So he hears Ron obviously working out. Ron's doing a midnight stretch routine. So that's kind of giving it away that Burton thinks it really is Ron as he's doing the workout routine, and Burton approaches him, and they kind of look at each other, and Burton asks, I wanted to ask earlier about the rope. Are you the one who cut it? But Ron suddenly goes, don't move! Pulls out 3 kunai and kills 3 members of the Oniwabanshu sitting in the bush behind Burton. And Ron immediately says, the Oniwabanshu, and this is the coolest scene. Ron immediately says, the Oniwabanshu, so they are after you. They're after Burton and Berecca because this is canonically correct. The reason Ron kills the 3 members of the Oniwabanshu here, the Oniwabanshu think Ron and Jane are dead in the explosion, which is why they only have one target left in mind, and it's Burton and Berecca, because they know too much. So the fact that the Oniwabanshu are going right after Burton and Berecca makes so much sense, because they don't know Ron and Jane are kids, and this is the coolest scene in here, because Ron comes in with 2 kunai, backs up Burton, and this is, you have to watch this scene. The cuts are badass, and Ron and Burton standing back to back. I absolutely love this scene. Dude, they really had a lot of fun with this.
一体何？
誰だ？
昼間のことを聞きたい。ロープを切ったのは。
動けな。
これは。
鬼は番衆。狙いはお前か。
僕を？
やれ。
Yo, Ron has kunai ready to go.
お前に背中を預けることになるとはな。
それどう考えても僕のセリフ。
ほら。
Oh my god! Dude, that shot is badass! Okay! Don't end it there. Oh, we don't get to see it? We don't get to see the rest of it? That's badass!
あなたたち
ロンのコーヒーだいぶいけるよ。
ベレッカも飲む？
I wonder if he told him everything after that encounter. I love how the scene cuts. I love how the scene cuts because in the very next scene, obviously everybody's up. Berecca's the last one to wake, and Burton's in a really happy mood. And he goes, "Hey, Ron's coffee's pretty great." And Berecca's going, "Wait, what the heck happened?" Also, Emma's drinking coffee as well, which I think is really interesting. And Berecca goes, "What's gotten into all of you?" And then you see for the rest of the episode that Burton and Ron are closely following each other. They probably ended up talking to each other for overnight after they took care of the Oniwabanshu. We don't get to see what they talked about yet, which I think is part of the suspense that's making me so excited. I love it. I absolutely love it. It is so nice to see that Burton and Ron, they probably ended up telling each other everything after they dealt with the Oniwabanshu, but I'm interested to see how much they tell each other as we go through, and we maybe get to find out what happened in the last few episodes. And this kind of changes what I thought was going to happen, where Ron and Jane were going to be more like anti-heroes, but maybe not. Maybe they're not actually going to be anti-heroes, because if Burton and Ron are kind of hanging around each other, talking about each other, they probably know that they are the actual adults now at this point, and Berecca and Jane, and they're adults. So I think it's going to be those four and Genryusai doing one thing, and then the younger four, which is Van, Cappe, Lucy, and Emma, doing their own thing, probably dealing with the Space Ninja, while the other four deal with Alan and the Oniwabanshu and the President of Comerica and all that. And that is so good! It's so good! I'm actually kind of glad they saved some of the episode, but, I absolutely love it. But obviously, they all make their way back to the WNA Academy at the end, and just when you think Van and Cappe are the first ones to step on to the platform back in the WNA, Amy says, "Welcome back," and you cut over to the other team, all smiles, all seriousness. They're all just sitting there together. So, unfortunately, Van and Cappe's team lost, which I kind of expected. But the whole scene where they're being punished and they have to meditate is really funny, because then you have Genryusai walking behind them with a fan, like his grandfather did. And when Cappe broke focus, he hit him with the fan and goes, "Cappe!" It is the funniest thing.
おかえり。お。負けた。罰ゲームか。無理。罰ゲームって本当に嫌い。
そこ静かに。
Wow, man, just what an amazing episode it is. And we get one last scene with the Space Ninja finally making their way into Eagle City, into Comerica. What an episode. What an absolutely incredible episode this was. And you could tell the voice acting was on point. The animation was on point. Even the in-betweens were even on point, even though the in-betweens are most likely off-model. The character expressions were so expressive. We're getting some more story beats in there, which I figured we were gonna get when they were kind of out of the WNA. You can kind of take the story in crazy and wild directions. The introduction to the Space Ninja, of Leonard connecting, back into the games a little bit. Absolutely incredible. We're probably gonna get more with Ron and the Oniwabanshu. We're probably going to hear how that conversation went down at some point. I'm excited. I'm really excited to see where everything goes. So if you guys, of course, enjoyed this episode of the Ninjala Anime Discussion and want to see more, I think you guys already know what to do. First off, let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section below. Let me know what your favorite part was, stuff like that. If you're done with that, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button as well. Gotta get 5,000 subs at the end of the year. Hey, I'm telling you guys right now, you guys have been giving absolutely crazy support to the channel recently, and I cannot thank you guys enough for the amount of support you guys have given me. The growth recently has been substantial. I'm glad I can make you guys laugh. I'm glad I can make you guys smile throughout the day. I'm glad you guys are enjoying my content, and I will continue to push it out. I will continue to do what I can and do what I can to be the best content creator I can, because I eventually do want to make this a full-time thing if I can, but obviously I can't do that without your guys' support. So thank you so much. for all the support you guys have given me. There's not enough thank yous on the planet to thank you guys so far, for what you've done for me for the past, like, few months, in terms of channel growth and in terms of the channel in general. So, just thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys all enjoyed this episode. And of course, I will see you in the next one. I will see you in the next video. And until then, this is CAJ Man 777 signing off. Stay safe, everybody.